questions on this final from what we covered today. So this should be really fresh, right? This should be very fresh, right? So the way it's written now, the way I've written it, and then I'm going to add maybe 10 questions from today based on your homework. It'll be like concept questions, right? Break-even point is sales equals total fixed cost. Sales equals total fixed, stuff like that. Anyway, so it's going to be easy, right? So the first 17 questions, so that means I'm probably going to add maybe 3 more questions, are concept questions. Concept. So, for example, do you know the difference between managerial accounting versus financial accounting? Remember the boat illustration? Right? Who uses it? What's the importance of these two? Right? We also spent a lot of time on terms, so there's a whole lot of questions on terms. You know what manufacturing costs are? You know what a prime cost is, or a conversion cost. Remember those terms? Prime, conversion. Right? We also talked about cost behavior. The easy way to remember cost behavior is with that graph, right? Total variable cost goes up in direct relationship to the activity. Fixed cost remains constant. So as your activity goes up, your variable cost goes up, or your fixed stays the same. And you should also understand the per unit issues there too. So you review that, you're great. What type of business would use a job order costing system? I have a bunch here. I got 4 businesses, and one of them, hopefully, you'll be able to pick. Right? In fact, this, I think, was one of your questions. Some of these are questions you already had on your midterm and also on your quizzes. What is a variance? Right? If you have a favorable price variance for direct materials, what's that mean? Price variance is favorable. Think in terms of that price at actual, quantity actual, price standard, quantity actual, price standard, quantity standard. Remember, price variance is the difference between price, isn't it? Also, I'm going to have you, you know what a cost function is? You know what that ratio is? The cost function? Anybody tell me what that is? Formula? How do you? There's your answer. It's question 8. Budgeting. You know what to order the budgets? What's your first budget? What's your second budget? What's your third budget? Do you know the order? These are all concept questions. So there's no calculation involved at all. You know the difference in the allocation methods between direct and step down. You know what those differences are, right? You know, when you do those allocations, you're going from supporting or service to producing, right? The direct goes directly to the producing. The step down is allocated, isn't it? Right? You know, yeah, could you define process costing? Oh, here's a good one. Do you know what absorption costing is? Just think of the income statement I did. You can answer this one. Oh, I repeated a problem. That's great. I'm going to have to redo this. Right. What else? Weighted average. You know the difference between weighted average and FIFO. Weighted average and FIFO. Also, do you know what the purpose is of equivalent units of production? And then what are the costs in finding your equivalent unit production and weighted average? So think of that cost of production report. You can answer that. So those are 17 of the concept questions. 17. So I'm going to add 3 more from today. Pretty easy. And then the rest are going to be computational questions. So, for example, I'm going to give you, raw materials, work in process, finished goods, beginning and ending, and have you find cost of goods manufactured, costs of goods used in production. So you got to do a cost of goods sold statement for a manufacturing environment. So you're going to have 3 short questions. Numbers. You're going to have to grind a number through. 21 through 22. I'm going to have you do the split off method. What's the sales value at split off? And then assigning joint costs. So you got to do a byproduct or joint product costing using sales value method. We went through 3 of them, of those. And then you're going to have a couple questions, 3 on the high-low method. So you have to do that. You're going to have a series of questions on variance analysis. So you're going to have a bunch of those, because we just covered that. That should be easy, right? Direct materials, price, efficiency, rate, efficiency for labor. Everybody know what the denominator activity is? Everybody know what that means? Denominator activity? If you recall, you take your estimated overhead divided by, this is called your denominator activity. Remember that? And this is how you find your overhead rates. We did this. We did variable and fixed, right? You divide your estimated variable overhead by some activity. Look this up. I know we did this. We did a lot of it. I didn't call it denominator, but I said you divide it by an activity. The denominator, all denominator means is down, right? Remember I talked about that. You got numerator, denominator is the bottom part. So make sure you understand that, because you're going to have to find some multiple choice. What is the denominator activity? So you're going to have to go backwards. So look at that problem. I'm going to have you find your variable and fixed overhead costs. Yeah, variable overhead spending, variable overhead efficiency, variable overhead budget, fixed budget. Sorry, your fixed overhead budget variance, your fixed overhead volume variance. And I'm also have you do a cost of production report. There's going to be 4 questions from that. And then there'll probably be 4 or 5 questions on what we covered today. Do a contribution, break even, everything, okay? And then there's a bonus question. If you can identify all the stories that I told in class, you can easily get this one. Any questions on that?
What was that next one? Variable overhead cost.
Variable overhead cost.
You just mentioned the computation.
Estimated, estimated overhead variable, estimated overhead fixed divided by an activity. All right? Any questions?
What is the use one sheet, right?
You can use your notes. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Use your notes. Any notes allowed? Bring your notes.
I'm at the
Closed book, but any notes you bring, you can use.